Welcome to Define You Radio, the place to be for real talk and real tips to help you define your personal and professional life. Class is in session with your host, the Southern Belle of Bold, Valencia Griffin-Wallace. Pens and papers ready. Class is now in session.
Hi, kings and queens, and welcome to Define You Radio. I'm your host, the Southern Belle of Bold, Valencia Griffin-Wallace. This month on Define You Radio, we are in our January series about vision. With that being said, I know a lot of times the word vision may be overused, misused, and abused. And some of those times, people can't even imagine getting a vision for their life when they're still working on building their confidence in themselves. So, I'm going to do something a little different for the rest of the month of January. I'm going to have specific episodes directly dealing with vision, but in between those, we're going to cover 31 Days to Building Your Bold Factor, which is a little book I wrote a couple of years ago, which takes you through a 31-day process of unleashing who you are, building your confidence, and basically building your bold, which stands for brave, optimistic life by design. And in order to get to the vision part, you do have to work on some things inside of you. I'm a visionary because I was able to release some things in my life. So go ahead and make sure you are connected with Define You Radio's Facebook page at defineyouradio.com. If you want to order 31 Days to Building Your Bold Factor, visit my website at valenciagwallace.com or simply inbox me on Facebook and we could go ahead and get that out to you, a signed copy by me. So, like I said, tonight's show is going to run a little different. So, 31 Days to Building Your Bold Factor, like I said, takes you through a 31-day process of cleansing and really addressing some things within ourselves. I know this was the process in which I had to go through in order to get to the Valencia you see and hear today. So pens and papers ready. Class is now in session. Day 1 to 31 Days to Building Your Bold Factor. The word for day 1 is resurrection. The definition of resurrection is the condition of being restored to life. Statement. We know that the resurrection was when Christ came back from the dead. That is a powerful statement in itself. Basically, in these 31 days, we're going to bring you back from what you may feel like is a not so living life. Deconstructing. In my own life, I remember feeling dead inside. That feeling when it seems like everything about you is dead because nothing is happening. My life seemed out of control. I was surviving life with daily migraines and more medicine than the law should allow, over the counter anyways. The unhappy marriage I was in surely didn't help. I remember getting close to 30 and wishing my life would end. Had it not been for my son, I probably would have ended it myself. I was beyond tired. Better yet, I was dead on the inside. My weight had crept up to a new high of 235 pounds. I had never been that heavy, or that depressed for that matter. It seemed like life was a series of unfortunate events that I was ready to get over already. I was over life at that point. I was a mom on autopilot, surviving just enough to take care of my son. I know a lot of you guys can relate to the deconstructing. And the deconstructing part is where I'm going to share with you how I was living. I had to deconstruct myself in order to construct myself. And to give you a little hint, each day we'll have a word. I will give the definition and the statement, and then we'll go into the deconstructing. Now, how my resurrection led to me building my bold factor. The series of unfortunate events became a series of resurrecting events. Now, like I said, something has to come back from the dead to be resurrected. Just like Christ was in the tomb for 3 days, there were three events in my life that resurrected me. These were life changing events that made me decide that, hey, I kind of want to be here. Number one, my uncle, who I was really close to, killed himself. That was back in 2007. Event number two, I took so much medicine, I couldn't stop myself from falling asleep. I promised God that if I woke up, I would change my life. That was roughly in 2008, 2009. Event number three, I had a breakdown in my garage where I felt my heart break. And if you've ever been through a heartbreak, there's no words to really describe it. You go through a physical breaking of your heart. I also had an anxiety attack, which is something I had never experienced before in my life or since during that time period. It was quite scary. You literally cannot breathe, and you can't stop yourself from crying and heaving. It was scary. This was roughly around 2008, 9, 10. Now, one of the things I want you to notice that these events happen over a course of years. Your resurrecting events may not happen, it may not take that long. They may happen day after day or month after month. But these were the three events that shaped the course of my life. I realized that my marriage was over. And I started making plans to leave and start a new life, which is a hard thing to do. If you've ever walked away from comfort, or you get so comfortable being uncomfortable, you understand that feeling of walking away into something new. But I had to start a new life. This is where my resurrection comes full circle. I had to have faith that embracing my bold had to be part of the plan. My heart and my head connected on leaving and starting a new life. Then everything that followed made sense. So this is day one of 31 days to building your bold factor. And I want you to go ahead and think about, how can you build your resurrection? What three events, maybe it was one huge event, what's happened in your life that let you know it's time for you to make some changes? That has to be the first step. I'm going to go ahead and go into day two. The word for the day is alive. The definition, having life living. Makes sense. Alive. Statement, having life is different from living life. You can have life and just be surviving, right? We can all agree that plants have life, but are they living life? That's kind of a great way to think about it. Building. I'm in my building phase on day two. If you weren't breathing, how would someone know you were alive? Are you out there enjoying life? Are you living your dreams? Autopilot is one of my favorite words, and if you guys listen to the show often, you hear me use it. It describes the time in my life where I was just breathing. Autopilot is an easy thing to slip into because it comes to you automatically. Even though at that time in my life, of deconstructing and now building, I realized that I was on autopilot, barely breathing, breathing so shallow that someone would have had to put their finger under my nose to check. That's how much on autopilot I was at this period in my life. See, we expect after we make some changes and decide to quote unquote resurrect our life that we're going to feel some miraculous difference overnight. You know, that expectation that the beaming sun and birds are singing will wake you up for the rest of your days like you are Snow White. That didn't happen to me. Maybe it does for some people, but when I just made the choice to make a change, there were no magical signs. There was no magical yellow brick road pointing me in the direction to go. However, the truth is, I had to teach myself how to live. Funny, but I did. The first thing I had to do was start forgiving. And I know no one wants to hear that part. I didn't. I felt like the people who I didn't forgive, I was justified. I had reasons to hate people. In fact, I had a list of too many people to hate. Too many people that did me wrong. And too many people who didn't deserve my forgiveness. But what I had to realize, that part of being alive is not to be buried by unforgiveness. If you think about the energy you waste in life, not forgiving people, and you could be justified, it's still wasted energy. And you're holding that on your heart, and guess what? Most likely they're not even thinking about you. Sometimes you have to accept the apology you never got and the apology you probably never will get. So I hope you guys enjoyed day 1 and 2 of 31 days to building your bold factor. I will release day 3 and 4 soon. This was just a preview of the new direction of Define You Radio. There's going to be more shows where it's just me giving you tips and advice and things that I've learned. Define You Radio has been built on interviews and you guys learning life lessons from others. But I felt like it was time in the season in my life where you guys should hear the life lessons that I've learned. Of course, the host of the show is really the teacher and the student. So with that being said, guys, let me know what you thought of tonight's episode. Let me know, where do you need to resurrect and how can you feel alive? Who do you need to forgive? Those are all the questions. And that's tonight's homework, or today, depending on when you're listening. Thank you so much for listening in. Make sure you connect with me at valenciagwallace.com. With that being said, pens and papers down. Class is officially over. Until next time, remember, your past doesn't define you. It gives you definition. It's up to you what you do with that. Have a great night.
Thanks for listening to Define You Radio. Make sure you connect with the show at www.defineyouradio.com. Pens and papers down. Class dismissed.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.